This time we're going to talk about the DNA and the cell cycle. So first of all, what's the DNA? The DNA is a double-strand structure, so a double-stranded structure which contain base pairs of nucleotides like this. So this is just a brief definition, and this structure carries the genetic information, so it codes for the genetic information of the cell. So it's a very important structure. Now, the DNA has two main routes of function. So we have a route that gives us another copy of the DNA, and this route is called replication. So DNA replication. This is the first route. The second route gives us something different, which is called RNA. RNA is a little bit similar to the DNA, but instead of being a double-stranded structure, it's a single-stranded structure. So it's something like that. And we have the nucleotide bases like this. Now, in the DNA replication, the whole DNA is replicated, while in the RNA synthesis, we just have a portion of the DNA. Let's say this portion will be used to make RNA. This action is called transcription. Transcription. This action is called transcription. And we have different types of RNA. We have rRNA, which is used to make ribosomes. We have tRNA, which is T stands for transfer RNA, and we have mRNA, messenger RNA. The messenger RNA is the one that looks like this, the messenger RNA. So in case that the RNA is an mRNA, this step will be followed by another step to synthesize proteins. So a chain of amino acids will be formed, which will be connected to each other to form the proteins. This route or pathway is called gene expression. So we have two pathways or routes, the DNA replication and the gene expression. Now, we talked about the DNA. What about the cell cycle? The cell cycle is a cycle that expresses the stages throughout the cell's life. So this is the cell cycle, like that. So this portion of the cell cycle is where mitosis or cell division happens, this area. And the rest of the cell cycle is the interphase. Now the interphase itself is subdivided into other portions. We have a phase called G1 and a phase called S and another phase called G2. What does this mean? The G stands for gap and the S stands for synthesis. And this totally makes sense. From the names, we can conclude that in the gap portions of the cell cycle, no activity actually related to the DNA happens. And this is really what happens. In the G1, the DNA is very stable, and for cells like muscle cells and neurons, the cell becomes stable for a very, very long time, maybe for the whole lifetime, and they are said to have a special G1 phase called the G0 for such cells. And then after the G1 we have the S phase, which is the synthesis phase, DNA synthesis phase, in which the DNA is the chromosome makes a copy of itself, and we will have two sister chromatids, and they are joined together throughout a centromere. So this is what happens in the S phase, synthesis. And then we go through the G2 phase, which is also a gap phase. Nothing really happens. The replicated DNA goes under check to assure that there are no mistakes that happen during the replication. And then we go through mitosis, when the cell division happens, and of course by using the two copies of the DNA, each copy will go to the daughter cell in order to allow mitosis to happen successfully. Now, what is the application of knowing such stuff in modern medicine? In chemotherapy, there are drugs which target certain phases in the cell cycle, and it makes sense because the chemotherapy targets cancer, and cancer cells are known for their exaggerated cell growth and spreading, so they target specific phases during the cell cycle in order to prevent the cell division. For example, we have drugs that target the S phase, like hydroxyurea. We have one of the very famous or commonly used drugs, we have methotrexate, also targets the S phase. One of the drugs that target the mitosis, we have vincristine, vinplastine, and so on. We have other drugs that target the G2 phase, like bleomycin. And there are other chemotherapeutic drugs which are non-specific for the cell cycle, like cisplatin. So cisplatin is non-specific. So I guess that's it for the DNA and the cell cycle. So until then, I thank you for watching and see you.